They called him the king, adored, untouchable, immortal. But behind the glittering jumpsuits and the electric stage lights was a man haunted by a darkness no spotlight could chase away. In the silence of his dressing room, mirrors reflected. More than just fame, they reflected a torment Elvis Presley could never fully escape. Pills, pressure, paranoia. This is not the story of his music. This is the story of the madness that danced just behind his smile, a truth the world was never meant to know. Graceland was still, not silent, never silent, but wrapped in that eerie hush that only the dead of night knows. A grandfather clock ticked in the hall. The faint hum of the refrigerator whispered from the kitchen. But upstairs, in their master bedroom, Elvis Presley stood shirtless in front of his mirror, staring not at himself, but through himself. He was thinner now, bloated some days, sunken others. The lines on his face deepened under the glow of the vanity bulbs, and his eyes, once brilliant with stage fire, looked lost. His mouth moved slowly, forming silent words, lyrics maybe, or prayers, or warnings to the ghost staring back at him. He didn't like mirrors anymore. Not since the dreams started. They began a few months after the 1973 Aloha from Hawaii concert, his most watched performance, a triumph to the world. But to Elvis, it was the beginning of something else, a crack in the glass of his own image. The dreams were always the same. He was on stage, the crowd cheering, but the lights were so bright he couldn't see the faces. Then silence. The audience vanished. He'd turn, and standing behind him, himself, dressed in black, smiling, and whispering, "You can't fake it forever." The first time he woke up drenched in sweat, he smashed the mirror in the bathroom. He told no one. Now, each night, he returned to the same ritual. Stand before this mirror, watch, wait, study the movement of his own pupils. Look for the glitch. Try to catch the impostor before it smiled again. It was past 2 a.m. when he muttered, "Who are you, really?" to the reflection. Behind him, on the dresser, sat a half-empty bottle of sleeping pills. Next to it, a crumpled napkin with a handwritten note, "You are loved. Always, L.T. Linda Thompson." She had left it weeks ago, maybe longer. He hadn't called her in days. He wasn't sure he wanted her to see him like this, spiraling. Afraid, obsessed. He turned from the mirror, sat on the edge of the bed, and picked up a book, the Bible, opened to Psalms. But the words blurred, not from tears, from something deeper, foggy, like trying to remember a dream you were still trapped in. He reached for his guitar, strummed the soft chord off key, tried again. Another. The melody came back slowly. "Are you lonesome tonight?" He whispered the lyrics, barely audible. But as he hit the final line, "Shall I come back again?" he paused. From the mirror came a soft creak. The door hadn't moved. The window was closed. Yet he felt watched. He stood again, now trembling, faced the mirror once more. For a second, just one fleeting second, the reflection didn't move with him. It blinked late, like it was lagging. Or thinking, Elvis, took a step back. That night, he slept on the couch downstairs. He left the bedroom lights on, and the mirror, uncovered, still waiting. Something was changing. Something inside. The king was starting to question who was really in control. The stage had always been his sanctuary, or at least, it used to be. Standing backstage at the Las Vegas Hilton, Elvis Presley tugged at the collar of his rhinestone-studded jumpsuit. The white fabric felt tighter than usual. Maybe it was the shoe. Weight he had gained. Maybe it was something else. His body ached. His fingers trembled. The pills weren't working like they used to. But the show had to go on. It always did. 10 minutes, someone called. He didn't answer. Instead, he stared at the thick velvet curtain ahead of him, listening to the muffled buzz of thousands of fans filling the ballroom. They were there for him, their king. Some had flown across the country just to see him sing for 90 minutes. But lately, Elvis had started to dread the moment the lights dimmed and the announcer boomed. "Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis Presley." Because that was when the mask had to go on, and it was getting harder to keep it in place, not behind the curtain. He stretched his jaw, cleared his throat, practiced a smile. But he felt detached, like he was watching someone else warm up, someone he used to be. When the curtains opened and the crowd roared, his instincts kicked in. He stepped forward, raised his arms, and gave the crowd that trademark smirk. Flashbulbs exploded. The band started up Dot, and then Magic, or something like it. But in the silence between songs, when the crowd caught its breath, so did the voices in his head. Doubt, fatigue, the whisper of that dream again. The other Elvis, the one in the mirror, he finished Suspicious Minds to a standing ovation, sweat dripping down his temples. He bowed, grinned, and waved to the front row. And that's when he saw her. A woman seated alone, dressed in black, not clapping, not cheering, just staring. Her eyes were red, wet. She was crying. Elvis locked eyes with her mid-encore. He sang slower, softer. Something about her felt familiar, though he couldn't place it. When the show ended, he bolted backstage, ignoring handlers and fans. He asked the security team about the woman in black. They didn't recall anyone like that. No one had approached the stage. No one had left in tears. Elvis felt his chest tighten. Back in his dressing room, he collapsed into the leather armchair. The mirror across the room caught his eye. There it was again, the flicker. A delay. A twitch of a lip that didn't match his own. Was it stress? Drugs? Madness? He opened his hand. In his palm was a crumpled tissue. It wasn't his. He didn't know how it got there. He unfolded it. In faint, handwritten script, it read, "You're not who you think you are." His skin went cold. That night, he canceled all interviews and locked himself in his hotel suite. No TV. No phone. Just silence. He tried to sleep. But the voice came again, from inside his mind, or maybe outside it. Fake. Fake. He covered his ears. But the voice didn't stop Dot, and in the mirror above the dresser, his reflection wasn't sleeping, it was watching. Graceland had always been more than a mansion. It was a fortress of memories, a palace of echoes. But lately, those echoes had started to whisper Dot. It was nearly midnight when Elvis walked barefoot down the long hallway upstairs, past the framed photos of family, of Priscilla, of Lisa Marie. The carpet muffled his steps, but he could still hear the sound of something behind him, soft, like dragging feet or fabric brushing the wall. He turned quickly. Nothing. He was alone. He thought about calling someone, maybe Jerry Schilling or Charlie Hodge. But what could he say? That the walls were breathing? That the house he built was haunted, not by spirits, but by himself? He made his way to the jungle room. That was the place he felt most grounded or used to. The green shag carpet, the Polynesian furniture. It was a weird room, but it was his. He dropped into one of the chairs and lit a cigarette with shaky hands. Smoke curled up toward the ceiling. His mind spun. Was he sick or cursed? Every night the same dreams, the same other version of himself. Darker, hollow-eyed, smiling like a puppet off its strings. The more Elvis stared at his reflection, the less sure he was that it was just a reflection. He took a sip of water, then another pill. Not enough to sleep, just enough to quiet the noise. That's when the phone rang. He jumped the line in the jungle. Room hadn't rung in months. He stared at it, heart pounding. Slowly, he picked up the receiver. "Hello?" No answer. Just static. Then, breathing. Heavy, slow, familiar. "Who is this?" he asked, trying to sound firm. Then a voice, barely audible, rasped, "You left me behind." Elvis dropped the phone. His hands trembled as he backed away. He stumbled over the ottoman, hitting the corner of the wall. Pain shot through his ribs. He didn't care. He ran up the stairs, through the hallway, back into his bedroom, slammed the door shut, and turned on every lamp in the room. The mirror over his dresser waited, still, unbroken, but as he approached it, his legs frozen in place. The reflection wasn't right. His body matched, the robe, the hair, the posture, but the face, it wasn't his. Not exactly. The eyes were hollow, lifeless, the mouth curled slightly. Smiling, then it moved. Not the real Elvis, the mirror Elvis. It leaned closer, eyes locked on him, and it whispered, "I am what's left when the fame fades." Elvis stumbled back, crashing into the bedpost. Then, blinked. The reflection returned to normal. Same face, same movements, but he was drenched in sweat, shaking. He opened the drawer beside the bed and pulled out a voice recorder. It was something he used sometimes to hum melodies or leave himself ideas. He clicked record. He spoke into it. "If anything happens to me, if I don't come back from this, it wasn't just the pills. It wasn't just the pressure. There's something else. Something watching me. Something wearing my face." Click. He turned it off, laid back in bed, and waited for sleep or something worse. August 15th, 1977. Elvis hadn't slept. Not truly. Not in days. He drifted in and out of shallow dreams that felt more like visions. The man in the mirror, the one with his face but not his soul, had returned every night, watching, waiting, whispering. That morning, Elvis sat at the piano in the darkened racquetball court, the same place he had once laughed, sang, played gospel with friends. But now it felt like a tomb. He played softly, unchained melody. His voice was hoarse, his fingers stiff. The staff had stopped asking questions. They had seen the changes. Weight gain, mood swings, late-night ramblings, but wrote it off as exhaustion, medication, burnout. No one dared dig deeper. Who could? Elvis finished the song with trembling hands. The last note echoed into silence. That's when he felt it. A shift in the room's energy. Like a cold breath on his neck. He stood up fast, turning toward the mirrored wall behind the court. There he was. But this time, the reflection didn't wait. It moved first. It smiled. And then, it stepped forward. Elvis blinked, rubbed his eyes. It couldn't be. Mirrors don't work like that. He stumbled backward. The air in the room grew thick, like smoke without fire. He tried to call out for help, but his throat locked. No voice, no sound. Just that thing in the mirror moving, as if it were stepping into his world. And then it spoke, clear, guttural, like gravel soaked in honey. "I've been waiting, Elvis. Fame fed me. Fear shaped me. Now you have nothing left to give but yourself." Elvis fell to his knees. "Who are you?" he whispered. The reflection tilted its head. "I'm the part they never saw. The burden you carried. The lie you lived. I'm the you left behind." And then the mirror shattered. Not with sound. Not with glass. But with silence. As if it had imploded inside his mind. Elvis felt the world spin. He clutched his chest. Pain, blinding, white-hot pain. He tried to stand, tried to breathe. But everything tilted. Voices, footsteps, far away, faint, a scream. Then darkness. August 16th, 1977. the world learned Elvis Aaron Presley had died in his bathroom, alone. The official cause? Cardiac arrhythmia. But no one ever found the voice recorder from his nightstand. No one spoke of the bruises that didn't match a fall dot, and no mirror in Graceland's racquetball court ever hung again. A week after his death, one of the housekeepers quit suddenly. She claimed she saw something. Someone walking the upper halls at night. Looked like Elvis, moved like Elvis, but his eyes were empty. Priscilla refused to talk about his final days in detail. Lisa, Marie only whispered of a recurring dream. Her father, looking at her through glass, mouth moving, but no sound. Tour guides at Graceland dismissed the rumors, but every now and then someone swears they see a flicker in the bathroom mirror, a second face, a shadow that shouldn't be there. Maybe it's just the light, or maybe the other Elvis never really left. Elvis Presley's voice shook the world, but his silence in those final hours speaks louder than any song. Behind the glitter, the gospel, and the glare of stage lights was a man haunted not just by fame, but by something darker. Something few ever dared to see. Was it illness? Addiction? Or did the king stare too long into the mirror and find a version of himself that refused to fade? One thing's certain, the legend lives on. Now it's your turn. Do you believe Elvis died from a broken body or a broken soul? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to share this story. Like and subscribe for more untold truths behind the myth of the king.